Moose, in this matchup, we get to see the Holy War debut for not just Devon Dampier, but Bear Bachmeier. This is a true freshman quarterback who isn't coming off the best game against Arizona. Look, I give Bear credit and BYU credit for being 6-0, Moose, but I have major credits about this team. I could easily argue of any team in the top 15, it's the worst resume. When you look at the lack of quality wins that BYU has amassed so far, Chase Roberts is a dog, and I like Parker Kingston, but I need to see more from the other pass catchers on the Cougars. I need to see more from a true freshman quarterback who was never supposed to be the starter this season. And even an offensive line that I think is good, but I think they got another test coming with this Utah D-line, and I could say the same thing on the other side of the ball. But my biggest questions about BYU are their offense. How do you feel about this Cougars offense, and are they ready for a Utah defense?
I honestly like BYU's offense. I think Chase Roberts had a quieter game this last week. He's going to have to step up. I think Cody Hagan has filled in incredibly for JoJo Phillips. Parker Kingston was the X factor in the Arizona win with his punt returning and what he's been able to do. And I've been really impressed with this offensive line. Andrew Gentry, he was a top prospect in the entire country when he came out. Austin Leusa, he's a senior transfer that's really interesting as well. Bruce Mitchell, just a local kid from Camas, getting her done. Waylon Lapuaho, coming in from Utah State, has done a really good job. And Isaiah Jada, he came in from Snow College through Colorado. He has been really incredible. And I think Carson Ryan has been a big win for BYU in his blocking ability on the edge and being able to pop out and be a real safety blanket for Bear Bachmeier.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the receivers, I just want, like I said, want to continue to see more. Kingston's turned it up. The last 2 games, over 100 yards receiving. I just think this Utah defense is on another level than West Virginia and Arizona's defense. I'll give the Wildcats some credit. I think Arizona's better this year than I thought they were going to be. They're a borderline top 10 Big 12 team at that right now. They need to do a lot more. They just got blown out by Iowa State not long ago, and I still need to see more from them, and I need to see more from Bear as well as the rest of this group too. And Moose, it is so interesting going into this game that BYU, we have to give them credit for finding ways to win, but I also think you can recognize, like, hey, this is not a team that's a 6-0 juggernaut. Like Texas Tech is a juggernaut right now. They're the class of the Big 12. They're dominating opponent after opponent. BYU is finding ways to win, but in some ways you could argue they could have lost the Colorado game and the Arizona game based on how they looked. So I have a lot of questions about BYU.
Oh, I have plenty of questions. I mean, they don't have an opponent that's in the top 40 that really, and when you look at the Sagarin rating. But here's the other thing. Utah really doesn't have a win in the top 40 either. These programs, for as different as we talk about them, they're mirror images of each other, which is hilarious to me, where I'm like, there's so much similarity where you don't want to say that, but in all reality, these are 2 very similar programs at the end of the day. And whoever wins this game, I'm willing to say that they will be in the Big 12 championship game at the end of the day. So this game has more on the line than almost any other Holy War has, because you go to the college football playoffs possibly this year, even if you lose the Big 12 championship.
I think that's a great point. And I totally agree on the similarities between these teams, because I feel like Utah's resume is a little more impressive when you look at that Arizona State win. That's just the difference to me. Yes, Arizona State backup quarterback, totally get that. That defense just held Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson under 30 points. And I know you love your special teams, Moose, like Orrin Phillips. We only said his name said 1 time. That's how dominant the Utah offense was against what had been a good Sun Devil defense. And I give Utah a lot of credit still for, I know it's a loss, but they played Tech about as competitively for 3 quarters as anyone had. Game got out of hand late. I'm not saying it didn't, but also Devon Dampier, I think we can say now, Moose, like as we shift to the other side of the ball, like Dampier clearly wasn't healthy against Tech. Like Tech's defense is much better than any defense Utah's seen this year, but he was nowhere near as mobile as he was against the Sun Devils. So a healthy Devon Dampier going into this game is a massive advantage for a Utah team that's ground attack has been a force to be reckoned with all season.
Yeah, Dampier is just a difference maker. And I like Franklin Bird as well. He's been really good too. And so it's just like, hey, Utah has 2 really, really impressive quarterbacks, one for the now, one for the future. And I'm excited to see what they do. But Dampier, he makes such a difference. He's hard to see. I know he's listed at 5'10" or whatever. There's no way. but he's almost like a Darren Sproles back there, where you're like, oh, okay, he's going to explode out to the side. Beck does a great job getting him on the move, and you have to have a spy or two on him at all times because of his running ability, because of everything he does. If he's hurt, then it takes out a whole faction of what the offensive game plan is. And I think we saw that at Texas Tech. And so if he's healthy, my goodness, this offense can really go. And Jason Beck, he really elevates every single player under his scheme and his guidance. So I love watching what Jason Beck does. And I think that this could be a massive mismatch for the BYU Cougars against the Utah offense.
Oh, wow. Okay. Elaborate on that a little bit more. Like, what about this BYU defense leaves you wondering if they're ready for what could be the best offensive line in the Big 12?
Well, when you're sitting there, you have to put a guy as a spy at quarterback. And for BYU this next little bit, it may have to be Glasgow, which is one of their most pivotal players. Glasgow, he's great in coverage. He's great at rushing the passer. But if you just have him stonewalled waiting for Dampier to do something, then it opens up lanes. It opens up throwing. It opens up a lot of different things. And I don't know if BYU will have Jack Kelly back at 100% health. If he's not at 100% health, his explosiveness, his really ability to get to the quarterback is going to be hurting BYU, because this wasn't the same BYU defense that we saw the first 4 games or the first 5 games going against Arizona, the 6th game, when you didn't have Kelly, when you didn't have Demouni, when you didn't have Tanuvasa, when you were sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, the second strings, there may be a step down. So if Utah faces that type of defense, they're going to have a field day.
Yeah. No, they absolutely will. And for this Utah team, what's interesting is they have struggled at time passing in 3rd and long situations, right? But the question is, how frequently can you get them in that? And the other thing I'll add too is something we saw against Arizona State. There were some 3rd and long situations. If you give a guy 10 seconds to the pocket, he's going to pick you apart eventually. That's what Devon Dampier has back there. So I do wonder whether it's a combination of BYU holding up in coverage as well as them getting pressure. How I think Utah's passing attack has a chance. It's not going to dominate this BYU defense by any stretch of the imagination. BYU has some nice players in the secondary, but Moose, if they can't get pressure on Dampier, that gives Utah a massive advantage here.
And BYU likes to drop 8 a lot. You'll see in obvious passing situations, they'll drop 8. They'll, like Kalani's been stated to say, I'll drop 9 if I can. But given Devon Dampier enough time to realize what's going on and then possibly take running lanes is a scary thought that haunts a lot of Cougars' nightmares.
Yes, it will. And as a lot of Utah fans' dreams rolling into this one. You don't sound surprised watching both of these teams that Utah is favored. I like Utah in this game. I was a little bit surprised that the Utes came out as the favorite from Vegas.
Yeah, it's honestly, for me, it's a holy war. It's a toss-up. Mm-hmm. You go into last week, you watch Oklahoma, Texas. Everyone's like, Texas is going to get dominated. Arch Manning is terrible. And then what happens there? All of a sudden, Texas wins convincingly. And here's the thing, whoever's going to be healthier, whoever's going to do what they need to, it's going to be interesting, because I was kind of nodding it up to special teams, and I was giving that in favor of BYU because you've got a freshman kicker. But BYU has had their own kicking woes in the last little bit, unfortunately for them. They've had a great kicker the last few years in Will Farron, but he has been, I believe, 3 of 6 the last 6 kicks, and then he was 25 of 25 before that. So let's see how he does during this game. He's been very confident, and confidence is key, but Utah has had their own struggles with their own freshman kicker in Dylan Curtis. I think he's turned the corner at this point, and you're going to see that may be the difference in the game, is the kicking, as crazy as that is, because these guys are so evenly matched all across the board up until that facet of the game.
But first, today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our great friends at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IHS top safety picks, plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can genuinely feel the craftsmanship in every detail, from metallic accents to available Napa leather. It's just a great car, great made, and it's got a great feel too. You can really make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with the all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. That's going to do it for today's Locked On Utes. Thank you again to all of you for making us your first view and listen of the day. And we'll be back tomorrow talking about one of the best rivalries in college football coming up on Saturday.